Hi, everyone. So excited to be here with my good friend Beverly and colleague on LinkedIn and LinkedIn live streaming. We're here every Tuesday, and today is no different. So honored again to have Beverly. The word of the day is assertive, and that's an important quality that can really serve a lot of people well in a lot of directions, but it also takes some understanding, definition, and appreciation, is which what we're trying to deliver today. Chat is wide open. We depend on chat to make us as relevant as possible and also to give us a direction in everything that we're talking about today. So, Beverly, please share a little bit about yourself and your initial thoughts on being assertive.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the first thing is I think it's a great word. It's a word that we often don't think about. What we think about is just getting our way, and it doesn't really matter how we do it. And so there are many different ways to get your way. And quite frankly, you can always get your way. I've been told that I am a master manipulator. I prefer not to call myself that. It's just that when you understand and you understand people, you can get them to see your way. And so we're talking about assertiveness here. And for those who don't know me, I help high performing women to serve with their own power. In other words, be assertive, get what you need. And these women want more out of life and they want more out of their business and they want to reach just another level of abundance. And we all can do that. We all can go to another level. And it doesn't matter how high you've gone in life, we always want more. And it's not being greedy, it's not being not grateful. What it is a feeling of purpose and a feeling that I matter. And so I matter. We're going right back to that word assertiveness. I want to hear what you have to say. Ask us questions. And you can always ask questions. So some people don't like being on a chat or asking questions because other people have already, are maybe looking or judging or whatever it is. So if you're one of those people and you do have a question about assertiveness or anything else for that matter, you can always contact me directly on my profile. Just send me a direct message or to Dawn. If there are any questions, please feel free because not everybody wants to be out there and be visible because a chat is visible. And we understand that. I mean, this is what Alive is. But the good thing about Alive, a wonderful thing about Alive, is that it's there. You see us, it's raw. You can judge if you like, and you can get information, particularly on Dawn's shows. It's the hour of Empower, and every single host that comes on every day, Dawn used to do it from 7 days a week, and now we're down to four: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But those are really prime times, and those times are where you should really mark your calendar because it's 11 o'clock Eastern and then we're going to change the standard. So it's going to be 11 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It won't really matter. And so our question and what we're talking about, the keyword is assertiveness. Women have a particularly difficult time with being assertive. And men, I'm really generalizing people, okay? But men have a tendency of being aggressive. And there is this attitude that if I'm not aggressive, I'm not going to get my way. People aren't going to hear me. And what happens is it really goes the other way around. Now, when somebody is aggressive, this is just a little tip, a little coaching tip here. If someone is aggressive, don't fight them back because they're not hearing a word you're saying. And we're going to be talking about that too. There's different ways of listening to what other people are saying. And it doesn't mean that they're strong, it means that they're abrasive. It means that they're upset. And there's so many different meanings behind that. They may be just stressed out, bad day, they're going through a divorce, who knows what's going on in their lives. But what you do is you stay calm, you don't attack back, and you listen to what they have to say, whether you like it or not. And then you can change the direction once they're through. But if you're talking or screaming at somebody else who's already screaming at you, are they listening? No. Okay. And in our day and age, it can be very dangerous as well. So I see the chat is buzzing, and we usually have our jokesters out here, so we can go with our jokes first. But I want to also really acknowledge Christine for being here. And yes, Christine, one of our women, one of our business women that are out there who's been through the, we could say, ringer, because, and the reason I'm saying that is because there is a tendency for women in particular to be nice. And nice has nothing to do with being assertive. You can be assertive and you can be very nice. As a matter of fact, you are very nice. However, being too nice can also be taken as someone who's weak. And so we're going to be playing with all that stuff. And it's always an interesting discussion. And so chats are all open. And Dawn, I'm going to pass it to you because we can pick up Christine and everybody else. And please put your comments, put your questions, put your advice, put all kinds of stuff in the chat. And if not, like I said, just contact me, contact Dawn, and we're really glad to be here, and we're really glad that you're here. Okay, Dawn.
Well, that was a great start to a great conversation today, and can't wait to get to the comments. But before then, I tend, and I think it's been kind of obvious that assertiveness can be viewed aggressively, but I kind of look at it like assertiveness is application. Apply yourself to something, to somebody, get involved, integrate with that. And that's being assertive, which can be uh, defined as being proactive,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Take the initiative, assert yourself into something. And it doesn't mean at someone else's expense. You don't have to be overly ambitious or aggressive or negative towards anybody. You just have to say, I'm here to play. I'm here to play with others in an honorable, respectful way. And that's important. Christine has been a great supporter of the show since it
mhm.
began.
Thank
And
you.
I value Christine in so many ways because she has asserted herself in conversations. And she's been on the show before. And actually, I'd love to welcome you back to the show, Christine. So if you have a upcoming
Sure.
Tuesday that you're available, me and Beverly would love to have you join us,
Absolutely.
assert yourself in the conversation. And Christine starts with women who assert themselves may be labeled as bossy,
Yes,
difficult, or unlikable, while men
yes,
displaying similar behavior might be seen as confident or strong leaders. This
yes,
double standards can create hesitancy to speak up or advocate for yourself, for themselves. And you make a wonderful point, Christine. And
yes,
knowing what you know is really based on perception, not always reality. So if you know there's a perception that is not realistic, that's a great opportunity to bring it back home and put it into proper context. And sometimes it doesn't hurt when you assert yourself to explain yourself. I'm
mhm,
entering this conversation because I found some quality points. I'd like to add some value to and compliment the person who made them because intention is so important with assertiveness, right? Why did this person just jump in? Who is this person? And and there's fear and concern. But if you come in and say, hey, I'd like to introduce myself, here's what I'm trying to do so you understand and appreciate it, and what you're hoping to do is create more value, not take away value, not take the spotlight away, but make it brighter for other people. And a lot of times you can assert yourself by being a third party validator. Well, Joan,
yes,
you made just a wonderful point. I'd like to just add my experience to it and then give it back to you because being assertive sometimes is being greedy or taking more or taking away from something instead of adding something. Carrie, who is our jokester, says, "Why did April say when playing tag in the laundromat, May tag?" Well, that's that's cute. Uh, Christine comes back with, "Women often face harsher social consequences for being assertive. They might fear damaging relationships or being marginalized in the workplace or social settings if they come across as too forceful." And I think one should really look at a redefinition of assertiveness, which could be a different word possibly that you can apply in your own mind that doesn't have a stigma to it. And when you do assert yourself, you need to ask permission sometimes. Is this the right time for me for comments, right? And if someone says no, we're 10 minutes away, say, okay, well, I'll wait the 10 minutes, as opposed to making assumptions or presumptions. And you might be in the middle of something that somebody was in the process of making their strong point. And so it's really understanding, being sensitive, going with the flow, saying to yourself, is this going to help more than myself? And if you're giving for the benefit of others and you're giving unselfishly or without trying to receive something, it'll be received that way. When Beverly says, "Hey, I've got 15 minutes to anybody who wants to get to know me better, or I can help them in some way, I'm available." Well, that's a generous offer. It's not like, well, if you're this and you're that, I can probably find time for you. Because, the other element is there's a saying, be interested, not interesting. So your goal is to provide interest and benefit, not to say, look at who I am, look at what I've done, because you're not bringing the person in, you're actually pushing the person away. Uh, Dennis is here, and Dennis was just on Carol's show, and we talked about communication as the key word today. So this falls right into it. Dennis says being live is so much better than being dead, and you can still share what you've learned, especially from your mistakes, so listeners can learn without making the same mistake. That's so true. And if you go in with good intention and good purpose, it's the other party that's at fault. They didn't take the time to understand or even to question a question, right? There's nothing wrong with someone saying, I have a concern here or I have an interest here. Could you elaborate? And you appreciate that, because if someone's got an issue, then it's better you know about it, and rather than you assume they don't. Christine says, yes, anger hijacks your brain. You should never try to have conversations when you are angry or someone else is. It's really unproductive. And you make a great point, Christine, because
Mhm.
at the foundation of everything is trust. And if you have trust going in, you have less skepticism or cynicism to what you're saying. And hopefully they welcome you. Well, thanks so much, Christine, for coming into the conversation. We know how smart you are and how supportive you are of others. And that gives context to the audience, right? Because you're looking at the whole and the bigger picture, not the little nitty picky things that happen in normal conversations. Dennis says, we're glad to hear so we can hear and learn from you too, and comes back with agree, be in the know and not the no, keep it positive, and things will go in a positive direction. So Beverly, back to you. Boy, we covered a lot of ground, and that's what good quality commenters can help us with.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to what Christine said because it's really so important to understand that Christine said women often face more social consequences for being assertive, and this is so true. Immediately there's a judgment. Oh, she's bossy. Oh, we can't talk to her. Boom, you're gone. You're not acting like a woman. You're not being polite. You're being rude. And in the workplace, it's very difficult for women on a high level who have to give instructions to many people. Um, and they don't have time to listen to all this, that, and the other. What they want to do is just give the instruction and have somebody do it, right? Get it done. They're under the gun. Everyone's under the gun. Just get it done. Well, if a man does it, then again, I'm stereotyping, right? It's more acceptable. For a woman, she becomes looked at as pretty harsh. Oh, I can't talk to her. Here she is ordering me around again. What a bitch. I've heard all that from the women who have to pass this on. And I'm thinking right now, just last night when I was talking to a client who was traveling, by the way, to Denver uh, for a client. And I thought of you, Dawn, my Denver personality there with the hat. And she had she was hiring contractors, and these are contractors that are working in Denver. It's a male business. Let's think of it, right? It's, you're hiring these people and they're contracted out, and she's coming in as the new person with the directives. She's doing the hiring, and she's looked at for the very first time. And immediately they don't just look at, oh, she's coming in, let's get to know her. You're looking at her as like, who are you as the president of the company? We've been here working with this client forever, and now we are working under you. We were working before under somebody else, blah, 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 blah. And she has work to be done. And so immediately the woman is judged. Is she too aggressive? And if she is not aggressive, and I'm using the word aggressive, not assertive, if she is, because it's immediately looked at as, oh, she's aggressive. Okay, we like her, we don't like her, we'll deal with her this way. She's put in a box. And what happens here is women often develop that role to become very defensive when they meet someone new, when they have to be the boss, when they have to get their way, because there's an expectation that if they are nice or more soft, then they are going to be taken advantage of. And that's where being assertive is so important. Standing up, communicating, and not being aggressive, but understanding where the other person is coming from. Once you understand that they're kind of threatened by you, then you come with a different sense of power. You don't have to be assertive. They're already threatened. Yes, they're already checking you out. Okay. Oh, she's a pretty blonde. That what can we get away with her? And I'm really stereotyping, guys, but let me tell you, that head is going all the time. Women don't necessarily think like that, but you have to think like that because the other person who may be male will think like that. And so you have to be able to assert yourself so that they are listening to what you have to say, not just listening to what they are saying in their mind. And this is why listening is so important. There are so many different ways of listening. We can listen and already think of a rebuttal. And is that really listening? No, but we could be nodding our heads, just waiting to get in, right? Well, once you're doing that, you're immediately challenging. And when you're listening to understand, then what you're also doing is going into the other person's shoes. So, for instance, the crazy person who's screaming and yelling, if you're listening to understand what they're saying and not immediately thinking, oh, wow, he's wrong. No, I don't see it his way. No, I have to tell him blah, 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 and immediately go on loggerheads with that person. Neither of you are listening. And so the other person has to understand something's going on here. Wait till they unwind. You're not being soft. What you're doing is now asserting your opinion by saying, just as you did, Dawn, now do you want to hear what I have to say? Not saying you're wrong. That's pointing a finger. What you're saying is okay? Now do you want to hear what I have to say? I don't think you're 100% wrong, but perhaps listen to what I have to say. Are you ready for that? So they're saying yes, okay? Now they're listening. And when they're listening, you're asserting yourself. You have a right to assert what you have to say. You have a right to communicate your thoughts. You have a right to communicate your feelings. You have a right to be respected and not be yelled at. And that person also has to understand that you're a person too. And when you're assertive, you will get that respect. When you're aggressive, they say, huh, he's crazy. Same with, oh, she's crazy or she's a bitch. But they can also say, oh, she's coming. She's going to help me. I have a problem. We're here together. I am the contractor. You are, yes, the boss, but we're here for one purpose. And the purpose is our customer. And so this is where your assertiveness, and I'm using that word, is not aggressive. It's explaining, it's understanding, it's with grace, it's with ease, it's understanding the other person and making a match so that we could both get what we need. And a huge thing that if it's too volatile, you also have to know when to say time out, just like with a kid. Okay. Let's revisit that. It doesn't mean you're soft, it doesn't mean you're backing away. But what it does mean is we're going to revisit this at another time when we can both get together. And that is in a relationship, it's in a marriage, it's in business, it's everywhere. Okay. Once you have a meeting with the minds, literally, okay, you can literally be friends with that opponent because you understand them. You're not judging. And so this is where assertiveness will always give you your way. You're listening without judgment. You're listening and taking time out to listen. In other words, how many times are you on the phone or texting or doing whatever and you're nodding and someone's talking? Are you really listening? No, 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 no. You're in another zone. Okay. So when you're listening to understand, you're listening to get what you need from the conversation. And maybe you do not have to talk back. Maybe all you have to do is listen. Maybe they just want to vent. How good is that? Right? But if you have something to say that you don't like, you can always now say it. Say it with grace, say it with ease, say it with confidence. It's your value. You are not weak. And I just have to add, although I keep on going, okay?
Never going out.
I just have to add that if you don't say it, you're going to build hostility. You're going to build anger. You're going to keep it up. You're going to avoid. And you may just miss an opportunity to learn so much more, to have a really good relationship with somebody, to really get what you need. And that anger will burn and it's going to come up later. So if it's a relationship, and you just keep it down. Oh, he came in like that, or whatever it is, and oh, I'm going to tell him, and then I don't because he's in a bad mood the next day, okay, or the next day. Whenever you decide to vent it, boy, is it going to come out, and it won't be assertive, it will be aggressive. And then this person who has moved on, okay, I said, where is that coming from? She holds that grudge for years. Like, where is that coming from? Well, it's coming from not being assertive. It's coming from not saying what you needed to say at the time and place where it was really important to say. And that's what assertiveness does. It says, hey, I really didn't like the way you were acting, and I really resent it. I said, I. Okay. I did not say you, you, you. You came in the door, you were in a bad mood, you, attack, attack, attack. Uh-uh. I. Talk from your heart, talk from yourself. When you talk, it cannot be disputed. I felt hurt. Well, I didn't really mean it like that. No, I know, but I felt that. So when you talk to me like that, I feel hurt. Is it possible that since you understand, and they may say, oh, you're too sensitive. Well, yes, if you understand how sensitive I am, you wouldn't talk like that. Don't
Hmm.
turn it around, okay? And say, well, maybe I am too sensitive. What's too sensitive? It happened. You were hurt. So, too sensitive? No, you were just plain hurt, period. So, what you're doing is you're standing up for your values. And it doesn't mean you're weak if you're nice. Okay. And by the way, you don't have to jump at the time that is necessary to say it. Or with somebody else thinks, why didn't you say it before? Okay. Well, why? Maybe because I was a little bit too upset, or maybe because I'm busy with something else and it's not that important to me. It's important to you, but not to me. But I will revisit it. I'm not weak. Don't judge me. So, what you have to do is judge yourself. Did I get what I needed from this conversation? Okay. Did I say how I felt? Are they judging me? Do I feel uncomfortable? You will feel those feelings, those vibrations within you will not lie. And so, if you are staying as you feel, assertive, being yourself, you're not going to get these highs and lows. You're not going to get that burn. You're going to just feel, I'm okay. I'm saying what I like. And guess what? They're going to accept it because why wouldn't they? It's honest, it's real. They may not like it, but it's for real. So do not fear being assertive. Do not fear owning your value. Stand up for it, but stand up assertively, not aggressive. So, yes, I went from women really have a difficult time in business balancing that niceness. Thank you, Christine, for bringing that up with weakness because it's not weak. You're not weak if you're being nice. Okay. Nice and assertive, two totally different things. Being assertive in a nice way, you are assertive. Very simple. Okay.
Beautiful,
On.
beautiful, beautiful insights. I never tire of hearing uh, Beverly share context and foundation to things. And I see we have some great comments. I'll get to them right away. Is assertiveness is also related to insertiveness, right? How do you insert yourself in something? Let's say you
Mhm,
walk into a board meeting. How do you greet
mhm,
everybody? How do you show who you are? Are you friendly? Are you happy? Are you positive? Are you shaking
mhm,
hands with people? Also, read the room. If there are six other women and three men, you know you're in a better position than if you're the only woman in a group of men or the only man in a group of women. You see that it's going to be a little bit easier because people honor people for who they are and what they know, not just for how you would describe somebody as somebody from Canada or US. To some people, it doesn't matter. Some people have preconceived notions. It could be anything. But if you're doing the best you can, if you can relate to the lowest common denominator where you're not going to do anything to hurt anybody's feeling, there's no reason to. There's no reason to step out and how you enter. You don't wanna go
mhm,
in like a bull in a china store. You just wanna be accepted, and it doesn't hurt to learn and listen until you start to share, because how many times you give a speech and how nice it is, just like when we start to show with comments, raise your hand if you have a question. I'd like to know what's going on in your minds. I'd like to know who we're working with and who we're talking with, because the ultimate goal is value to yourself, but more importantly, because you created value for others and people will remember the things that they learned, that they were entertained by or inspired by, and want more of you. With that said, uh, we've got Dennis comes back, agree, don't invest before interest. Dennis says, thanks again for keeping us well grounded, even without so much dirt. That's a good point. Agree, we need to outside the box and be assertive. Also, never say never. Things do change. Our good friend, cohort, that's part of our group, Harvey Tuck is here. And, Harvey is just a wonderful example of someone who asserts themselves in the most
Mhm.
positive way because he is always honoring, complimenting everybody else. When you're coming from security and confidence, when you have a calm disposition, when you're
Mhm.
patient with others, saying things doesn't mean anything until you show that you really mean things by your actions. And how nice it is to welcome people. Well, welcome, Beverly. We're so happy to have you. I know Beverly for a long time, and you're going to be so happy and impressed. It doesn't hurt to get a little head start from the people who invited you to that meeting. And then you come back and you honor them, and pretty soon it's much higher level of vibration, much more calm, much more interesting. The last thing you
Mhm.
want to do is see anybody create chaos or raise the level of conversation to the point where people are getting embarrassed just being around it. And they say criticize in private, support in public, and that's so important. I guess there was some freezing going on. Hopefully, it's not happening now. By the way, Harvey has his show following this show
Yes, yes,
I
Harvey,
should,
yes.
and I encourage everybody, whether you're into franchise or not, to check it out because
Mhm.
Harvey brings so many valuable nuggets that it doesn't have to only apply to franchising,
Mhm.
just like assertiveness, like Beverly mentioned, can apply to your relationships.
Mhm.
Give somebody some space, give somebody some room, show some um, appreciation. Because when
Mhm.
someone says, I love what you just said, they didn't know that if you didn't tell them that. They might think that, but why be stingy with your compliments? Why not have it balanced and people do want to see the authentic person in you, the person they can depend on, not just the person that has a good persona today. Christine comes back with, I don't always think it's necessary to assert myself. It depends on the context. When someone criticizes or praises you, they're expressing their own beliefs, opinions, and emotional states. It's more about their worldview than about who you really are. And that's so true because it's not the stimulus, it's the response that counts. And
Mhm.
sometimes people give too many people too much credit when it says, well, I can appreciate your opinion, but I think there's another element here that I'd love for people to appreciate. So you don't start reclaiming yourself by then putting someone else in the position they just put you.
Yeah.
You've got to show yourself as being a better person. And
But
go ahead.
I just want to interject, okay? What you said, Christine, is excellent. The primary thing you also said, I don't know whether it was here, it depends on the context right there. It really does depend on the context. But that, depending on the context, right, you may have to be assertive just to bring back, if it happens to be among a large group of people or whatever the context is, you may have to bring back who you are and become more assertive rather than being stepped on. But you don't have to become aggressive. You can always claim your value. Now, if it just so happens that somebody criticizes you and it's just between you and them or whatever, it's not necessarily to jump down their throat at all. Be assertive one way or another. I remember this saying, words from nowhere fall nowhere. I like that saying. Okay. You can kind of let that go. It's not necessary. But there are times, for instance, in the workplace, where if one person belittles you and then it starts and it becomes literally a snowball effect, somewhere you have to stand up. So, whatever it is, it's the context. You have to be able to stand for your values. But you are so right. There isn't every situation where you have to immediately jump in and assert who you are or any of that stuff. It's so not necessary. So I'm sorry, Dawn. I just wanted to
Oh, no, no,
jump
no,
in
no,
on
sorry
because I
here.
think it's so important. Yeah, because otherwise it becomes a constant attack, right? No, no, it's not necessary. If someone compliments you, it's thank you very much. We don't have to go into anything more than that. right? And the same with the criticism. They're entitled to their opinion. It is what it is. It's okay. You can't win the whole world, and that's okay, you know.
Well, I think the point you make, and based on the point Christine was making, is you could re-establish context.
Hmm.
Someone could bring something and say, well, that's not really what we're here for today. I'd love to take that into consideration, or let's have a talk offline with that and be considerate of the 6 or 7 other people who have no interest in that. And you're not, anytime you make someone feel worse, they end up acting worse. And it's a lot of times it's you could just have a draw. Well, I value your opinion, appreciate what you have to say. I have a different view of it, but hey, that's what makes the world go round, right? And then nobody has to be wrong and somebody has to be right. No, there doesn't have to be losers if there's winners. There can be that win-win-win philosophy, and you can share that with others. Here's what I'm saying, and here's what I think it can bring, and again, continue to state your intention. I'm here for benefit. I'm here to create value and make good use of people's time. Christine comes back with the love of the I love the advice I learned from the book for the Four Agreements. Basically, it says taking things personally makes you vulnerable to others' opinions and can cause unnecessary hurt. When you stop taking things personally, you become immune to others. And let me see. Your reaction is solely your responsibility when you internalize someone else's words or behavior, give them power over your emotions. So true, Christine,
Hmm.
because people are waiting for a response. And some people's intention is to take you off center, to make you feel in a different way. And if you don't allow that to happen, if no matter what the criticism is, you don't overreact, versus, hey, I don't really appreciate that or understand that. I'd love to have you elaborate a little bit more because some people will throw rocks and run, and now they've got to take responsibility and accountability for it. It's not to embarrass somebody, it's just to say, I don't understand I know what you said. I don't understand why you said it. What were your intentions there? And that will cause a pause in the whole group because now it puts that other person on the spot. But it also teaches them that you're going to assert yourself in certain situations, that you do have lines where you're not going to cross, where I can accept this, but when you go there, I'm going to have to share my feelings with everybody. And if you can come back and justify it, hey, we did something right. If not, you know who I am, where I stand, and what I'm going to accept. And in ways, you're actually helping everybody by explaining what's important to you, like Beverly says. I may be overly sensitive, but that's who I am, right?
Hmm.
And it's not overly sensitive as a person, but overly sensitive to certain topics, to certain ways I'm addressed, and if that's not possible, at least I want to share with people and you look better for it. And the idea is it's not a competition again. Too many people go in and saying, I'm going to bulldoze these people. I'm just going to go out and grab everything I can, get everything I want. Well, you're not going to get
Hmm.
invited back. So you better do a big grab because that's all you're going to get. And, you can't let other people's experiences impact your persona, right? I heard so many people, well, I invested in that, didn't work out. So when I do, it's like, well, I wasn't there. I wasn't a person. Why would I get thrown into that group? And I think the other thing is everybody today has relationships with everybody to some extent or had relationships. How they viewed their wife, how they viewed their mother, how they viewed their daughter is going to impact how they view other women. So not everybody comes from that standpoint, and it goes both ways too. But again, you got to decide what assertiveness do you want to apply. Do you want to bring a whole host of different issues that are your issues and spread them to everybody else? Or do you want to raise people's consciousness and awareness? Because not only will they treat you differently and hopefully better, the next time somebody like you walks into that room, they'll have been conditioned already to say,
Mhm.
this is what's preferable to that person. And, they took the time or maybe had to take the time if they're in an organization that someone says the meeting's at 4, be there. Well, that tells you kind of your role to begin with versus, hey, we're having a meeting. If you're available, love to have you. That's a different type of invitation. Dennis says Harvey does add to our friend size. And I think that's an important point, Dennis, because I always said, even when I was in sales, make a friend and then make a sale, right? Because at least you made a friend and maybe things take a stair step approach. You can only get so much in this meeting. The next meeting, you'll take it to another level instead of it's absolute all or nothing, because then you're dealing with transactional situations instead of longer term relationship situations. So we've got wonderful comments today from wonderful people. And it does come back to being friendly and being a friend. And last thing I'll say before I turn it over, again, the goal is to be interested, not interesting, is to go there with a desire to learn more and to teach more. And instead of a negotiation, it becomes a knowledge share.
Mhm.
Beverly.
Okay, so much, so much. Okay, I was going to go back to Christine's comment also about understanding. You were saying your reactions are your responsibility. In other words, don't take what someone else says personally. Well, that's kind of hard to do, right? Unless you stand for your own values. And this is what we talked about. I think it was 2 shows ago. And Dawn, we had, I think, Michelle B. I'm not sure, but I think it was for this was really marketing, where the values are for yourself, for your brand, etc. Well, you are your brand, right? What do you stand for, right? If somebody's going to rip you apart, right, is that really you, or is that the way they perceive you, or are they just maybe intimidated by you? Who knows what's going on? But that's them, not you. Okay. If you know who you are, you don't have to get crazy, right? You know who you are. It doesn't matter if they say you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that, whatever. Are you interested in being insulted? Perhaps you can revisit that if that person is worth it, like your child, and is really very, very upset and calling you all kinds of names. It's like, what's going on here? Okay. I think there it matters, and there you should revisit what's going on there. Not when the child is upset, but are you taking it personally? Oh, I'm a terrible mother. Look what that child said to me. No, don't take it personally. This is the way that child and that adult, by the way, who was that child, got attention, or was maybe the only way they were able to express it. So it depends on where those words come from. And sometimes it really doesn't matter. Sometimes it does matter. But your value stays the same. Who you are stays the same. What you have to say, what you have, who what you are putting out to the world stays the same. And when you hold on to your values, then it's not going to throw you. When you start questioning, well, maybe I really am like that. Well, and giving too much power to someone else who has just maybe had a really bad day, or maybe went on with something else, or whatever, we don't know what's going on in their mind. This is where, if it's important to you to get what you need, go into the place in their head, because
Mhm.
that's where you're going to get what you need. So don't lose it. It's not about you. It's really about the other person. And I'm going to give you a coaching tip. Ah, okay. Big one. Okay. You know that customer support stuff, which can drive you crazy, and you can go from being assertive to aggressive in a heartbeat. Okay. And your blood can rise, and then all of a sudden they drop your call. Who has the power here? They do. Okay. When you're coming for customer support, you are upset. Well, they've been trained. They've been trained with all kinds of crazy people just like us who need this, who need their MasterCard done, who need things done correctly, whose internet line went down, whatever. Okay. They will be calm. They will follow a script. They can be absolute fools as you go ranting and ranting, and they'll go back to their script and they're going to try to calm you. And you're going to be ranting, no, it's not this, it's not that. Well, keep your assertiveness, not your aggressiveness. And there's
Hmm.
a reason for that because you're frustrating them. Okay, little bits by little bits, even though they've been trained, be calm, don't yell at the customer. They're listening to me anyway. I am on a clock. I have to do the right thing. So understand where they're coming from. Now, if you're frustrating them, you're going to be frustrating yourself. You're not going to get the answer. So, what you really have to do is perhaps we should go to a next level because I can see that we're going to be having a disagreement for quite some time. So, perhaps let me speak to your supervisor. Now, they will pass you on. Yes, you may get a dropped call. So, this is not a call that you should set up for 15 minutes. This is the call you should put at least an hour and a half into. Okay. So if you have to call the government or if you have to call whatever it is, know ahead of time. This is not going to be easy. You have enough time, but you can continue to get what you want in the next level and just continue to explain without losing it. When you lose it, they get frustrated. And when they get frustrated, oh, call comes from India. We drop the call, whatever it is. Okay. Whatever it is, you're not going to get what you want. So to get what you want, you have to have patience. You have to also understand what goes on in the other person. And when you're assertive, that means you may not agree. You may have all kinds of information you want to give them and they have it wrong. But on their level of service, that's all they can give you. And so when you understand whether it's the support team, whether it's whatever it is, this is about you, not them. They don't care. They'll go on with their day. But to another lousy call, which they'll do the same thing with. But if you want your attention and if you want to be heard, then it's for you to be calm, be assertive, understand that you will be that special client that they will go out of your way if you thank them, if you say, this is really good. I know it's hard for you. People yell at you all day. I've actually said that to someone and they said, oh, you don't know. And I felt like saying, look, I'm not your coach right now. I'm leaving. Okay, just get me what I need. I don't want to hear your problem. Please just get me out of my problem. But the bottom line is you have to realize that it's not about you. So I want to thank you, Christine, for that one because now if we take it personal, we go crazy and it's getting worse and worse with all this customer support stuff. So Dawn, I just had to put that one in because
Well,
that's every day.
it's funny you say that because I was thinking along the same lines, which is yesterday I went to Costco to return something, right? And the only thing I cared about is just make the return, get me on my
Get
way,
out of here.
right? And what you learn is, hey, this is not a situation or conversation I'm going to engage in,
Yeah,
right? If someone
yeah.
starts bringing up some collateral alternative things, I will just say, thank you for your advice. How do I get going on the reason I'm here, which is to get the refund, go shopping,
Get out.
and go on to my next thing. So assertiveness is a tool you have in your tool chest and you take it out when it's like the context is not only right for where you're at, but the context is right for application. And there are people who exactly what's going to happen if you go down a certain road with them because you've been down that road and you know how it ends up. So why not fast forward? And a lot of people just want to know that you think it's okay or it's right. Someone will say,
Mhm.
"Well, I disagree with you," and I would say, "Well, you make a good point. Thank you very much." That's the end of it. If you come back and say, "Well, you don't really understand, and let me tell you about it, and let me sway you," you're just wasting time and energy, and you only have so much time, and you only have so much energy, and the next person you meet or talk to is gonna inherit the last experience you came from, right? You can't hide, "I've been so frustrated and disappointed just now," and then put a smiley face like nothing ever happened. You can't hide that, so you owe it to the people around you to be in a better mood, to come back home better than you left it, to come back to people better than you left them. And all of a sudden, you'll always be an accepted, invited individual. And I think that's a great point, too, is if it's a first time with anything, you need to take your time. If you've been there 100 times with the same people, everybody is letting their guard down. They already are comfortable. They feel safe, and safety is a big element and about assertive. Are you feeling safe? And if you are you making everybody else feel safe? And once you can get to safety and trust, no one really is going to get into presumption because they're going to be dealing with knowledge and experience. And that trumps the situation of, hey, that's a new person and Beverly's right. Well, how you dress is going to be determining before you speak on how people see you, right? If you come into a professional setting like you just got off the beach, that's not going to be in your favor. And if you're trying to be too much of something that no one really appreciates, that's not gonna be in your favor. So again, there's that point, dress for success, right? Where are you? How do you look? Are you really paying attention? How many people are shaking their head and they're saying, well, this is this and this is this? And you say they don't care. And when people don't care, makes you feel bad because even though they may not say anything, it's almost like, well, they're just looking for me to get off the stage as fast as I can. And it was more of a vanity situation today than a serious situation. But Christine comes back with another good point. You're wearing out the keys today. We really appreciate it, Christine. I was also going to mention it's a practice for me not to react when it's not in anyone's best interest. Someone gave me great advice once and said to ask myself, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said right now and count to 10 before responding versus reacting? That's a great distinction. I had a partner who was extremely successful, and he always said, don't put anything out there, especially in writing, that wouldn't be on the front page of the newspaper, right? Because you just never know the context that's going to be taken or how it's going to be used later on. So be thoughtful, be careful. You can always speed up, but you can't always slow down. And one last thing when you're talking, you can't unring a bell. You might just accidentally say something and find out, whoops, I forgot who this person is or where they're from. And I just said something that really wasn't meant to hurt anybody, but I can see how it is. And that's an important caveat is once you see that you might have made a mistake, acknowledge it. I'm so sorry if people take the wrong intention out. That was not what I meant. And I appreciate that because then it's like you stood up for yourself and you covered yourself. Most people say, well, no, you're wrong. I'm right. You don't understand. I do. You're less. I'm more. And the key is how do you become the better person in the situation? How do you take stereotypes or the way people see people in general and change their mind to show them that it's not all size fits all and one shouldn't be judged by the cover of their book. And then, oh, we got Omar here. Omar, great guy. Good morning. Good to watch you guys. I'm actually going to be on a show with Omar, it seems, which is the show of Tournament of Champions. I'm actually going to get paired with Leslie Flowers. Should be a fun time. And then Omar was just on the show the other day. He's making me a judge in the LinkedIn singing contest that he's going to produce. And I'm so glad he didn't ask, because when I was reading the invitation, I said, "No, not singing, not singing." And then it said judge. I said, I can judge singers, but I definitely don't want to put myself on the stage as a singer. So thank you, Omar. Great guy, just like Christine, Carrie. I mean, birds of a feather flock together. So with that said, I know Beverly and I need to move to our next thing. So we've got about 3 minutes left. I'll let Beverly have her last or closing statement today. I want to thank Beverly for coming up with the
Yeah.
word assertive. And we usually do a 3-person show, but I really am so happy to just have a 2-person show at times, because we get right into it and we get very efficient, and we bring a lot of value that way too. So, Christine says, last thing before last thing. Oh, a singing contest sounds like such fun. Well, I don't know if we've closed the contestants, but if you're a singer, reach out to Omar. Omar is a very inclusive, inviting person that makes everybody feel good for being around him. So, Beverly, this is a beautiful conversation we created with the wonderful audience. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, my first thought is to own your value. Own your value. Communicate your thoughts, your feelings clearly. Be who you are, and you will get more respect. Okay. Of course, you shouldn't always have to stand up for yourself. It's not necessary. You hear my phone, I should have shut it off, but there we go. We're going live. We are live. And just to say, I'm here every Tuesday. I'm here with Dawn. If you have questions, if you have any concerns, you can always find me on my profile. And I help high performing women get the success that they want in their business and in their life. And they know they deserve it. So, how can you just reach what they need? I help you do that. So, it's been a pleasure, Dawn. Let's just take what we learn, let's practice what we learn. Because if we don't do it, what happens is we lose it, and that's in everything. So remember, you have your value and practice that. Use it. Thanks, Dawn. This is fun.
Well, thank you, Beverly. It's always a pleasure and an honor, and I never can thank you enough. And that's a good reason to keep doing shows on Tuesday together. And Petra's here. I haven't seen Petra in a while.
Oh,
Thank you for
Petra.
coming
Hi.
today, Petra. Wonderful person, doing great things
Yeah.
in so
Yeah.
many ways. And take this opportunity today and going forward to assert yourself in the most positive, wonderful ways to help yourself and others. And you'll find out it's better to assert than to stand back and wait, because sometimes that's a long journey in itself. So I want to thank everybody, including Beverly again, the audience. And like Beverly says, we're always accessible and available, and we welcome everybody into our future conversations. So, with that said,
Okay.
come back tomorrow. We've got Carl Dakin, we've got Kelly Stanecki on Thursday with Dave Snell. Got a fun packed group coming on.